There are these amazing moments in history where science fiction literally crashes into science fact. Well, this is one of those stories. It's about a TV show, its incredibly passionate fans, and how their wild campaign actually convinced the White House to rename a real-life NASA space shuttle. Let's dive in.
I mean, it sounds kind of impossible, right? How in the world could a bunch of TV fans actually influence a decision at the highest levels of government and space exploration? Well, the answer involves a total avalanche of letters, a pretty smart president, and one incredibly organized fan right at the center of it all. So to really get how this all happened, our story doesn't start with NASA. Nope. It starts with the woman who was pretty much the living, breathing heart of the entire Star Trek fan community. Her name is Bjo Trimble. And you gotta understand, long before she ever thought about taking on NASA, she was already a total legend among fans. She was known for this incredible knack for turning pure passion into real-world results. Her legend really kicked off back in 1968. It's kind of hard to believe now, but the original Star Trek had terrible ratings, and NBC was all set to cancel it after just 2 seasons. Bjorn and her husband John were just not gonna let that happen. So they organized a massive letter-writing campaign. And the response was, well, it was absolutely staggering. In just a few months, they totally flooded NBC with 116,000 letters from dedicated fans, all of them demanding that the show stay on the air. It was a grassroots movement like the network had never seen before. So what happened? Well, first off, NBC renewed the show for a 3rd season. But the real story, the secret sauce, was why. It wasn't just the sheer volume of mail. It was the kind of person who was writing in. These letters showed that the audience was young, educated, and had money to spend, an absolute goldmine for advertisers. And just like that, Bjo Trimble became the hero who saved Star Trek. So Bjorn had proven that Star Trek fans were a serious force to be reckoned with. And 8 years later, that very same force would be called upon again for an even bigger mission. Okay, picture this. It's 1976. NASA is about to start this whole new era of space travel, and they're ready to show off their very first space shuttle. The name they picked for this incredible new vehicle? The Constitution. A respectable name, sure, but for a whole universe of fans, it just felt wrong.
See, the fans of Star Trek, they had another name in mind. To them, there was really only one name worthy of America's first true starship, a name that meant exploration, hope, and the future. Enterprise. The whole community was buzzing with this idea, but an idea is just an idea until someone can actually make it happen, and everybody knew who to call. I mean, she had saved their show once before. Bjo Trimble was the obvious choice to lead this new campaign. And so, Bjo rallied the network once again. She used the exact same strategy she'd perfected almost 10 years earlier. But this time, the target wasn't a TV network. This time, it was the President of the United States. Her plan was so simple, but so brilliant. She just put out the call to that huge network of Trekkies all across the country. And the mission was clear. Write letters. But not just to NASA. No, write them directly to President Gerald Ford and ask him to change the shuttle's name from Constitution to Enterprise. And the response this time, it was a tidal wave. It completely dwarfed the 1968 campaign. We're not talking thousands of letters anymore. We are talking hundreds of thousands. The White House was absolutely buried in mail from every single corner of the country. And you really have to pause and appreciate the sheer dedication here. Remember, this was the 1970s. There was no internet, no email, no one-click petitions. Every single one of those letters was written by hand or on a typewriter, put in an envelope, stamped, and mailed. This was just pure, raw, grassroots passion. And we know it worked. This isn't just a fan story. This is a direct quote from a declassified White House memo informing President Ford that NASA had received several 100,000 letters from fans. The campaign had officially landed in the Oval Office. So now you have President Ford with this mountain of mail on his desk. He's got a decision to make. Does he stick with the original plan, or does he listen to the voice of all these people? And President Ford listened. And really, he had every reason to agree. His advisors were all for it. They saw it was a super simple, no-cost way to get a ton of public goodwill.
Plus, the name Enterprise wasn't just from a sci-fi show. It had this proud U.S. Navy history going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. It was the perfect mix of pop culture and patriotism, a total political win-win. And so, on September 17th, 1976, the fans got their wish. NASA rolled out its very first space shuttle. And it wasn't named the Constitution. It was, officially and forever, the Space Shuttle Enterprise, a true victory for people power. Now, the story of the Enterprise is totally unique, but it's really just the first chapter in the 30-year history of the entire space shuttle program. What's so fascinating is that after the Enterprise, NASA kind of went back to a more traditional way of naming things. The other shuttles, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour, they were all named after famous historical ships of exploration. The Enterprise is still the only one in the whole fleet named by popular demand. And the shuttle program that followed had this long, incredible history, you know? It was filled with amazing triumphs and just heartbreaking tragedies. From that hopeful start with the Enterprise in '76, through the devastating losses of Challenger and Columbia, all the way to its final mission in 2011, the shuttle program really defined a whole generation of spaceflight. So what about the ship that started it all? Well, the Enterprise was a prototype. It was used for flight tests in the atmosphere, so it never actually flew in space. But those tests were absolutely crucial for the whole fleet that came after it. Today, you can go see it. It rests proudly at the Intrepid Museum in New York, a monument to a dream that people willed into being real. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The story of the Shuttle Enterprise is way more than just a fun piece of trivia. It's really a testament to the power of stories themselves. It proves that a fictional idea can grab our imagination so completely that we, just through sheer force of will, can reach out and pull it right into our own reality.